Dave Zimmerman here, chop wood, carry water. So I wanted to do another Tai Chi video today. We have a beautiful day outside. We're still, most of us at the time of this recording are still at home during the coronavirus outbreak, and but I've thankfully got access to the space here. You don't need this much space. If you can get outside though, all you need is a little bit of space, but go outside, get some fresh air if you can. If you can't, indoors works too. This is the beauty of Tai Chi, is its accessibility, or one of the beautiful things about Tai Chi is its accessibility. And speaking of fresh air, so Qi, I wanted to talk a little bit today about this idea of Qi. Qi is translated different ways at different times. One of those translations that you'll see quite often is just simply breath energy, and I really like that one because you know, again, you can get as woo-woo as you want with all of this stuff. I love that too, more power to you, but at its heart, I think too, there's a real practicality and a real folk medicine to Tai Chi. And so this idea of breath energy is really, you want to extend that in it works in a couple of ways. You want to extend that idea a little bit, not just to what we know about like oxygen into your body, carbon dioxide out, but you want to also think about that as your feeling of the breath, your sense of the breath. So that, you know, for example, when we take a good deep breath, most of us have experienced this before, when you get one really good breath that just feels like it fills your entire body. And so this idea of breath energy really extends beyond simply what we know about oxygen. It really is the idea of energy, a real generic sort of energy, all sorts of different energy, and how that energy travels through your body. And in kind of that Chinese model of Chinese medicine, just really simply put and real basic, the idea is that we want to keep that energy circulating in your body, and when we run into health problems sometimes when we either have what's sometimes called excesses or deficiencies or stagnancies, places where that flow of that energy in your body gets stuck and your body can't, or is, you know, for whatever reason, for whatever amount of time, is having trouble doing what it normally does without us really thinking about it. Now the other way to think about that, because this is all internal that we were just talking about, the other thing that I think works really well with the breath is that this idea of energy, again, is very universal, and so it's something that we actually exchange with our environment. It might be as simple as, you know, interaction. We maybe really feel this right now because we're having different sorts of interactions with other people, and for many of us, those interactions with other people, there's an exchange of energy that happens there, and we walk away feeling energized, and that other person maybe walks away feeling energized. But we also have this with our environment, and so again, I think the breath works as a really good example for that. When we go to this oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange, that our waste products, our waste energy is this carbon dioxide, and the trees take that, the plants take that, and that's their fuel. They use that, they take that in, and for their metabolism, their waste product is oxygen, which works out really well for us because that's what we want to breathe in. And so there's this very real exchange going on between us and our environment. And in Tai Chi, we really extend that idea out many, many, many more levels than even something that simple. There's always this exchange of energy going on between us and our environment. So I just wanted to introduce that idea, just a little food for thought, something you can think about when you go outside, even for a walk. It doesn't have to be even just during your Tai Chi. You know, try to take some of those qualities, that you know, awareness of the breath, that slow movement, that awareness of your environment around you, that awareness of the air around you, into your walks and other things during your day, not just your Tai Chi practice. So But today we're going to walk through a basic warm-up. Hopefully this will feel familiar if you've done other Tai Chi videos, if you've worked with me before in my class, or on this is the second video that I'm posting on our Chopwood Carry Water site. And hopefully you're going to recognize these warm-ups. I like to do these warm-ups the same, pretty much the same exercises, same order every time, so that you can get to learn these, so that even if you're not learning the form yet, you have some of these basic exercises that you can do. Literally, I do these when I'm stopping and refuel, you know, if I'm on a road trip. Not right now because I'm at home, but you know, when in other times in my life when I'm on a road trip. I've been in the car a long time. I jump out of the car at a rest area, or even when I'm fueling. Sometimes I'll do some of these basic exercises just to kind of hit the reset button and restore a little bit after a long period of sitting. So, you know, think about where you can do these in your life. So let's get started with our head to toe warm up. I'm just going to move through the joints here, and I'm going to go through this. I've been moving around a little bit this morning, and I'm fairly warm, so I'm just going to do a few of these. These you definitely want to go by feel. If you feel like you need more, you need extra, please do more. Please do extra. We really, again, just want to check up with the joints. We want to not strain here, but just getting things moving, getting things up to temperature, getting that energy moving in the body, tipping the head side to side. Now I like to think of this as lifting an ear up toward the sky, so I'm creating some length in that side of the neck. I'm drawing that shoulder blade down and then rolling the shoulders. So basically just moving head to toe. You might even think of some ones you want to add in here. And feel free to do that as we move from head to toe. Rolling those shoulders back and down and reaching. I'm going to come right up onto my toes here, but you're welcome to keep those feet flat on the ground too. We want you to start to get a sense of grounding as well as lengthening. Elevating and grounding at the same time. So if you think about a tree, the way a tree grows, as the branches grow up higher, those roots go down deeper. I'm moving out to a wide stance here, just turning, shifting the weight, turning the hips. This is a great place to start playing with our concepts of full and empty. I'm filling one leg, emptying the other. And then warming the low back. I'm going to move those feet to about hip or shoulder width here, whatever's comfortable for you. And circling the hips. And reversing the direction. Bringing those feet closer together. I'm going to warm the knees. Reverse. So you want to be cautious with those knees, take care of those knees. We're giving them a little love here. And so what that means too, when I put my hands on my thighs, not on my kneecaps, I don't want to interfere with that tracking of the kneecap. I'm going to make some circles. If this causes any strain in your knee, you may just do this as an up and down motion. Just a straight plane of movement there. I'm reversing the direction now. And then coming up, I'm going to move back a little bit. Maybe you can see my feet a little better. So, circling the ankle. I'm going to start with my toes on the ground, and you can stick with that if that's where you're at today. If you feel like you've got the balance for it today and you want to bring that foot right off of the ground, you may. And reversing the direction. And I'm going to flex and hold. shake that ankle out. And then moving to the other side here. Where again, I'm going to start with those toes right on the ground and the earth. And if you feel comfortable with it, you can bring that foot up off of the ground, reversing the direction. I'm spreading that footprint out on my standing leg here, letting that sink down into the ground. And flexing, pointing, and shake that ankle out. Lastly here, I'm just going to shake out those wrists and arms, let those shoulders relax. Notice I start kind of bouncing with my legs as well. We want to look for a springiness and a resilience in those legs. And saddling and sinking in to what we call our horse stance. Let that air around you begin to take on some substance here. You can see I've closed my eyes so I can kind of go inside and feel what's going on there. You're welcome to do this with your eyes softly open as well. But once in a while I'll do that just to really kind of recenter and reset. And then I'm going to let those arms float up. This is opening the door. So opening up to right here, right now, this space, this moment, this breath. I'm just going to do a couple more of these. So notice that this opening the door also shows up at the beginning of our Tai Chi form. In a way, we're almost trying to do a little bit of a Pavlovian kind of training to our body. When we open the door, we're telling our body, we're telling our being that we're preparing to do that form, getting into that mindset, getting into that headspace. I'm going to cross those wrists next here. This is Kai Shing. I'm going to step back. Whenever we step, we want to test the ground first and then slowly pour that weight from one leg to the other. So, as a general rule, whenever we're stepping backward, it's toes first. Test the ground with the toes, and the rest of that foot makes its way to the ground. Back and forth here, breathing with that whole body, as if your whole body is one big lung. One more time on each side. This is called Kai Shing. I'm sure I'm not getting that pronunciation very well, but hopefully you get the idea here. Now we're going to open up hands and feet. Those hands come down. This is supporting heaven like a pillar. Extending, again, roots down deep in the ground as I grow upward and outward. One more time. And I'm going to rub those hands together, generate a little bit of heat. especially this morning. It's a little bit chilly out here. Chilly shouldn't stop you. There are two situations that the literature does suggest that is not a good time to do your Tai Chi. One is cold, and the other is wind. And what I think is important to keep in mind is that this, all of this stuff was invented at a time when people lived really differently than they do now. Didn't have all the climate control we have. So, for us, I think sometimes we think of cold as something that's not in a really small temperature range. And in this case, I think when we're talking about cold, we're talking about real extreme cold. When we're talking about wind, we're talking about very extremely windy. So, there really are very few conditions that this is not appropriate to do. So it's a little chilly out here this morning, but even as I warm my hands here and warm the insides of my arms, I can start to feel that warming up. I'm going to bring those arms nice and wide and slowly bringing them closer together. And I'm going to form this soap bubble or this ball. And I'm going to hold that ball on one side. You can start on either side here. I'm going to step forward with one foot. I'm going to turn that back foot out a little bit. And this is an exercise we call circling. It's as if I'm sitting on a rolling stool here. Rolling stool with a turning top. It's that stool that I think they hand doctors those stools right when they graduate from med school. They all seem to have it. Imagine one of those stools. So let that air around you take on some substance here. Feel your body moving through the air. Collect that ball up on the side again here. Stepping back with one foot. Moving that ball or bubble over to the other side. Stepping forward with that opposite foot. So, tongue placement, something you want to be aware of a bit as well. Think of that tip of the tongue. We want to have that tongue resting gently at the roof of the mouth, and that can be either right up behind those teeth, or if you slide back just a little bit, there's a spot where that roof of your mouth becomes more concave. You can go right to that spot where that starts to become more concave. I'm going to hold the ball on the left. Step that right foot back. We'll move out to a wide stance and sinking that tailbone down toward the ground. I'm going to cross those wrists as I come up. This is snake, creeps down. I'm forming a hook hand here on one side, flat hand on the other side. So as I'm practicing this, I do feel like my hips are getting a little more flexible, so I can start to move that stance out a little bit wider and sink down just a little bit lower. But only do that again if you can do that without strain. It's not that it's not work, it's that difference. Note that difference between strain and work. Work is okay. Strain, we don't want to strain in the practice. crossing those wrists, extend those arms forward, hands come down. Walk those feet closer together. So I wanted to take the opportunity today to go over the first few movements of the form. And then we're going to follow that up with me doing the form facing the opposite direction to the last video that we did, so that you have an opportunity maybe to kind of watch from behind and match directions. So we'll worry about that a little more when we get to it. But as we think about these first few movements, I want to talk a little bit today about one of our Tai Chi guidelines. And I always call this knee-toe alignment. And the two basic guidelines with knee-toe alignment are A, that you always want to have your knee and your toes pointed in the same direction. Now that doesn't mean that both knees and both toes all have to point in the same direction. You might be, quite often actually, we're in a turnout with one leg or the other. But what that means is that my right knee and my right toes, my left knee and my left toes are always in line with one another. And so even when I'm in that 70-30 stance, we call it, that we did that circling, if you notice, even as I shift the weight, this right knee stays in line with those pointed in the same direction as those toes. And I like to get really specific about that. If you think about you, especially your second toe, that's the one next to your big toe, we want that knee pointed in that same direction. Now, the other guideline is that we always want your toes, well, let's talk about it from a frame of reference of the knee. We always want your knee at the toe, like if we dropped a plumb line down, at the toe. I'm going to move out so you can see my toes as well. At the toe or behind the toe, not out here in front of the toes. That's going to create a little more strain, and we want to avoid that. A couple times there may be some notable exceptions for you, but again, these are our general guidelines, and you do want to be pretty strict is not the right word. You want to be pretty firm on those though, because we're really trying to train some neuromuscular pathways into our body so that our body just learns that this is an area we don't go, this is an area where we're much more centered, I'm able to keep that spine straighter, and I'm not putting any strain on that knee. And so that's definitely something to keep in mind as we go into these first few movements today. So first one's going to be a little bit easier because we're going to start with those feet together. As we did in our warm-up, this is our opening the door. In the form, we do open the door one time. So the idea from a stand, what's going to happen, I'm going to fill my right leg. I'm going to step out to the left. Notice that's still empty. I'm going to completely fill that left leg, completely empty the right leg, and then I'm going to move to 50-50. And from that 50-50 stance, I'm going to rise up and I'm going to sink in. And then I'm going to come to hold the ball. Let's do that again, and I'm going to point out a couple things about this. So, again, one of our general guidelines in the form, and this one there are some notable exceptions, but this is a great example, as a general guideline, once we kind of set that level that our hips are at, when we move through our Tai Chi form, our hips are going to stay at that same height, that same level. And on a day when you're a little more stiff, a little more sore, that might be up a little bit higher. On a day you're feeling really good, you might really sink down, and that might be a much lower place with those hips. But once we start, essentially we're going to stay there. Again, a couple exceptions. This is where we set that level, is when we open the door. So again, I'm going to fill that right leg, quite tall here. I'm going to step out to the left, going to shift. And we want to keep that spine tall always. Remember, we want to have a cord, imaginary cord that comes right down from the sky or right down from heaven, and a small weight at the tailbone, and we want to have roots at the feet. But when I open the door, when I complete that opening the door motion, I've sunken down to that level that I'm going to continue to move at for these next couple movements. Let's do that one more time and then we'll move into our next one. So opening the door, filling the right, stepping out to the left, shifting left, centering, rising up, like rising up on the waves, and then sinking down, holding the ball. Now those hips stay right at that level. And we're going to move into the next one here. Go ahead and try it if you'd like, or you can watch. This is parting the horse's mane. And I'm going to stop right there, and we'll talk about that a little bit and do that together. So parting the horse's mane. The horse, think about a horse's mane here. So I'm essentially stroking that horse's mane is the image we want to play with. The other thing we want to think about, this goes back to that idea of being aware of that air around you, is our spacing, right? Notice I'm not right up here against my body when I do that. Right? You can almost see me hunching my shoulders here. Notice I'm not extending way out here. There's a happy medium to be found here where we've created a little bit of space around our bodies and we're protecting that space. But we're not overextended, we're not overreaching. This is the amount of space that if I were to press against something, come back here to this tree. If I were to press against something, if I'm overextended and that object goes away, that support goes away, I'm going to fall over. If I'm real close and leaning, now all of a sudden I have to put a lot of muscular effort into kind of maintaining my space between me and the tree here. But somewhere in between there, and there's a range, but somewhere in between there, there's this magic sort of angle where I can keep that shoulder down, I can keep that spine nice and straight, and just I naturally have a lot of strength in that position because it's a mechanically advantageous position. That's the position we're looking for, and that's a helpful image to play with when we do our parting the horse's mane motion. So when we part the wild horse's mane, we do that 3 times. I'm going to hold the ball. Again, we'll go from holding the ball. We're going to part the wild horse's mane. So there's a shift to the left, and then back into that right leg. Turn out. Hold the ball on the right, or on the left, sorry. And parting the horse's mane to the right. Parting the horse's mane to the left. Let's do that one more time. And then we'll go into our next movement, which will be the last one we're going to add today. So, again, from holding the ball, parting the horse's mane with a rock back and a turn. When we get familiar with this rock back turn out, we use that quite a bit in other parts of the form as well. Now, if you'll notice, when I got to number 3, I didn't really bother with that pivot on that back foot. Here's number 3. And that's because our next movement is what we call a half step in. That means I'm going to just take that back foot and I'm going to bring it halfway to the right foot. And then when I do that, I'm going to spread my wings here. My left hand's going to come down here near my hip, my right hand up near my head and near head height, and turning out with that right hand and down with the left. This is an empty step with my left toes. All my weight's in the right. That's white crane spreading wings. So again, I'll move in a little more in frame. So again, it would be from that parting the horse's mane, that spine nice and straight and upright, half step in, and I want to time this so that my wings kind of finish their spread right when that empty toe, and those empty toes get to the ground. One more time. Just crane spreading wings. Those arms up and down. So we're going to walk through the form, and today, as promised, I'm going to do this facing away from you, and it may be a little harder to see the hand movements and that kind of thing. You can always refer back to our first video where I was facing the camera. But the thing that this will allow, I think, is for the left-right movements might be a little easier to follow for some of you. Stepping out to the left. Opening the door. Parting the wild horse's mane. Three times. Crane, spreading wings. Brush, knee, and push. Step, push. Here's that same footwork again, where I rock back, turn out. Instead of holding the ball now, got one palm up, one palm down. Third, final, push. This time I'm going to half step in, play the D5. The pulse monkey. 6 times, walking backwards. So here's that, testing the ground with the toes, then shifting away. Turn to the right on that 6th step. Step out to the left to grasp the sparrow's tail. Step right to grasp the sparrow's tail. Pushing past the wrist, but not actually touching. Pushing with both hands. Hook hand with the right hand, flat hand with the left. Into waving hands like clouds. High pad on horse, empty step with the left toes. Step left and kick right. Boxing to here, left, and then shifting right, and then to the left, so I can step right and kick left. Snake creeps down and to the left. Golden pheasant stands on left leg. To the left. Snake creeps down and to the right. Bear maiden working at the shuttles 2 times. And instead of half stepping in, that's usually what I would do here. I'm going to stay in frame, looking for a needle at the bottom. Let's see. Flashing the arms. Deflect, parry, and punch. Quick hand, push, brace tiger, turn to mount. Together. Yeah, thank you very much for watching today, and remember to get some time outside. I'll see you next time. So let's go back from that holding the ball, and when I step out, I'm going to shift my weight into that left leg. Notice I pivot that back foot. I'm going to rock back, and I'm going to turn down. I'm going to fill that left leg, and I'm going to hold the ball on that side. Step out to the right, pivot that back foot, rock back, and turn out. My dog loves to do Tai Chi with me. And partying the horse is me. Hi, girl. Hi, girl. How are you? You want to do some Tai Chi? Yes, you love Tai Chi, don't you?